I'm not sure what to expect with this anyway, so it could be along those lines. It could just be some guy rambling about video games. We don't know yet.
Maybe it's a hot take, but we'll see.
A half-hour hot take. Okay, sure. Anyway, good afternoon, folks. Welcome to Smudcast number 518. Kingdom Hearts, the game that should have failed. But did it? Did it? I don't know. I don't know how popular this is exactly to say whether it's a failure, whether it sold many units. What is the scale for failure or success? I'm not sure.
Being associated with Disney, probably.
I'm not sure. Maybe. It's had multiple games, so it's a franchise now. So I would say it's relatively successful. People want it, but that could just be because the sales outweigh the costs. I don't know what the ratio is. So if it's
Well,
profitable,
are we talking about Kingdom Hearts 1 specifically?
I don't know. He's just saying Kingdom Hearts the game, which to me means the first one, as opposed to
6.3 million.
Yeah, as opposed to Kingdom Hearts the franchise, which is different. So the game, I could see the first game, sure, the first thing ever, Disney characters, SquareSoft characters thrown together. All right, check it out.
I actually did play Kingdom Hearts 2 before Kingdom Hearts 1, and when I first played Kingdom Hearts 1, I got so bored I barely even got past the first island and just stopped playing afterwards.
I don't know if I even got past the first island, but I did play it for at least an hour and a bit. And I thought, okay, this is fine. I'm not excited about it. I just thought it was fine. It's like, this is a game, and it's colorful and silly. So...
Okay. From the metrics I was able to look up here on VGCharts.com, the series as of now has sold close to 30 million.
And that's like 8 or 9
The
games.
whole series. The games, the whole series, yes, so far, including like the remasters and shit.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Fair enough. All right. So yeah, I don't think he's going to be talking about the entire series, just the game itself, which is fine.
Which just Kingdom Hearts 1 on its own, again, 6.3 million, which is still good.
All right. Okay. So this video came out a few days ago from Kingdom Ace, which I'm assuming is a Kingdom Hearts YouTube channel. I don't know. I haven't seen this.
I hope so.
Yeah, it would make sense. So he has about 12.5 thousand subs. This video has over 1,000 views, so it's a very small video. And it's niche. So it's all about Kingdom Hearts. Which is fine. Totally cool. All right. Let us start the video.
I've been having these weird thoughts lately.
Oh, dude.
Oh, here we go.
Like, is any of this for real
Is he talking?
or not?
Is he Batman?
That quote in itself is probably something along the lines of what the Squaresoft employees sitting in these concept meetings were thinking when Kingdom Hearts
Is the
was first
audio
being
playing?
conceptualized. If we're being honest
for me,
here,
yeah.
based on its very
not playing on
concept,
my
Kingdom
end.
Hearts just seems like something that wouldn't work. A chance meeting
Thankfully, I
between
can still see
series
the
veteran
quotations,
Shinji
though.
Hashimoto and a Disney executive in an elevator happened back when Square and Disney shared a building. Because of that, Shinji Hashimoto was easily able to pitch the idea that he and Hironobu Sakaguchi, the father of Final Fantasy, had came up with. They wanted to make a 3D game in a similar vein as Super Mario 64, but they felt the only characters that could rival Mario in the industry were Disney characters. Hence why Shinji Hashimoto getting the chance to directly pitch their idea to a Disney higher-up was a big deal. And after that, the rest is history. Kingdom Hearts was supposed to be a Final Fantasy meets Disney story, and while that is what happened and likely a big reason why a lot of people were willing to try out the game in the first place, I'd argue that what made a lot of people stick with it to the end wasn't just Cloud or Squall or Aerith or Yuffie, it was Sora.
Wait a second. I thought the whole inception of Kingdom Hearts was a conversation in an elevator between the Squaresoft guys and the Disney guys. And
Yeah.
Did I
Well,
get
the conversation in the elevator could be taken as a metaphor, I think, or is it literal?
It's literal.
Wait, really?
He just said that Disney and Square shared an office building in Japan. That's how that started.
Yeah, it's not like before that. Oh no, the guy who made Final Fantasy wanted to rival Mario, so we got to get Disney. Like, no.
I mean, that wasn't entirely the idea. That was just like the general, the general idea behind making the game in the first place. It wasn't the primary objective.
I mean, to be fair, who did Mario have at this point? This is like after where Sonic just shot himself in the foot 50 times because Sega's a bunch of freaking idiots.
I mean, well, around the time Kingdom Hearts was conceived, this was still around Sonic Adventure at times, and Mario was just about to come out with Sunshine. And
this was when Sonic was on
Well, not yet. Again, Sonic Adventure was just coming out at this point, and it was pretty big.
But the console itself, it was on its deathbed.
The Dreamcast, absolutely. Absolutely. That one was on life support at that point, right after coming out. The PS2 killed it in one fell swoop.
Honestly, I just want to say this on live. Sega is my Konami. I hate them so much.
They have definitely made a lot of bad decisions over the years, not the least of which with Sonic.
And the worst part is, I'm a fan of some of their underrated franchises, but they get, no games at all.
Dreamcast was a great platform. It could have been a better platform, though. It could have been a lot better. And the games for it were interesting and unique. And one of the reasons why you wanted a Dreamcast was for the games, as opposed to Nintendo or PlayStation or what have you.
But the sixth generation as we know it now ended up being way further ahead than what the Dreamcast was pushing.
Yeah.
And the worst part is, one of my favorite games is on the Dreamcast, but it got shot in the foot because Sega couldn't advertise it. So it got re-released.
And that would be?
Skies of Arcadia.
Oh, yeah.
And then, what do they do for the real release? Man, I wonder if we should advertise it. Nah, let's not.
Although, if it weren't for Sega's stupid decisions with the Dreamcast, we wouldn't have the current console war of Sony and Microsoft throwing their hats into the ring right after that.
Yeah, but I'm still mad at Sega. I just want to be mad.
Yeah. It wasn't just an isolated incident either. Before we go back to Kingdom Hearts, Sega really shot themselves in the foot more than once, even since day one with the Master System.
They didn't just shoot themselves in the foot. They locked the stupid thing off and tossed it into the river.
You could say that, yeah.
Well, the 90s were great for the console wars in general, with the Genesis and the Super Nintendo, and then the Dreamcast later on, and then the PlayStation later. It just sort of, it was oh, this makes sense. Everyone's competing. They're doing their own great stuff. Everyone has a favorite. And then come 2004, 2005, you're oh, then Sega's dipping. They're just dying. And they reduced themselves to a software developer or a game developer. And that's all they got.
The fifth generation of the mid to late 90s was absolutely a gigantic paradigm shift in the gaming industry. The PlayStation, the N64, PC gaming starting to catch up, You
want to know the worst part about Sega's other franchises? What their Streets of Rage. Sega didn't actually create that. It was an indie game. Streets of Rage 4.
Yeah, I mean, it was still a good game. It's it's just that's just one of those cases where a franchise is able to separate itself from the company that started it. In that case, Sega, and keep going on its own.
It's still
I know it's stupid. I know. Yeah, but I mean, it's a good game. That's really what matters at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Here's Rough Dog 1000. Thanks for the 5. Kingdom Hearts has sold over 19 million copies across all of its games, which makes me happy because Kingdom Hearts is my favorite game series. Zion is waifu. Okay.
Maybe 19 million is just the games on their own. I mean, I did factor in the remasters when I did the calculation from VG Charts. So
okay. Yeah, you have to look at all their platforms as well, and where it's been. Where it's been selling.
And obviously the free-to-play games are taking off, and the recent release Melody of Memories, we don't have anything on that game yet. That is a full-price game, Melody of Memories.
The free-to-play game somehow has to have lore to the main series.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. It's the fact that it's Kingdom Hearts doing it. Okay. That's my thing. Yeah. But anyway, with that said,
let's keep going.
Sora was the needed factor in this equation to make this strange concept of Cloud Strife meeting Donald and Goofy work out. The execution of his character and story not only gave us a really likable protagonist that you wanted to
Well, even if you didn't have a invented character just for this franchise, you could have used any established character as a main character and have him be part of some wacky adventure with alternate dimensional franchises or whatever. So that's not really essential, but it does make sense to do that, so that's fine.
Yeah, because I don't think it would have worked as effectively if it was a pre-established character.
Right, but you could still pull it off, like with one of the.
It's possible, yeah, but because it's an entirely new character made for this, that gives more leeway to have that character and all the characters invented for the series be like the middleman between both sides of the extreme.
Yeah,
I just remembered something. Did either of you see the Chip and Dale movie by any chance?
No.
We did touch on it a little bit. What was it? 2 days ago.
That was crazy enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard there was something involving a mouse and a fly on 4chan, and people were having a meltdown over it.
Okay.
It was pretty bad. The Peter Pan is bald and all this other nonsense that pops up in the
They committed the cardinal sin of Peter Pan growing up.
Yeah, it's like taking Who Framed Roger Rabbit and just making it weird and creepy, and you're like, oh, I don't want to see that.
Yeah, but to go back to this, it's like ultimately, yes, a completely new character being the middleman between the goofiness of Disney and the seriousness of Final Fantasy. Well, seriousness in quotes. Ultimately, was the best result. It was the best choice they could have made in that situation. To have that middleman, per se.
It's fine.
He made a good point there so far.
Yeah, it's fine. It's not the only way to do it though. But anyway, let's just keep going.
True.
for, but also gave us direct access to Disney characters that were being redefined by the narrative. Because let's be real here, for a ton of people, it's going to be hard to take Donald Duck, Goofy, and Mickey Mouse seriously in an emotionally vested story. But in this, I think, lies Kingdom Hearts' most impressive feat. They were able to make us not just think of Donald and Goofy as cartoon characters, but as the captain of the King's Royal Knights and the court magician. And while I was a kid when getting into Kingdom Hearts, it still had that effect on me even back then. Though I will admit, the way I got into this series was a bit different than most people. For all my 90s and early 2000s viewers, do you guys remember the Scholastic Book Fair? Sure. We had it go on at my elementary school back then. For day one, we had to just look around for something we might find interesting, and day two would be when we actually got to buy things. And what I found was a little manga called Kingdom Hearts. It looked so cool, and Sora on the cover looked so mysterious, not to mention...
At that time, there was manga?
Yeah. Now I remember. Yeah, even back then there was a manga for the series.
Oh boy, this had to be the best time for the freaking video for me to cut out because I didn't know what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were book fairs, of course. When I was a kid, I was a little more grown up at that point, but I didn't know we had manga back then. That's 2002. Like individual mangas?
Close to that, yeah.
I know because they were actual comic books. Like they took the manga and they put them in the format of comic books. So I don't know if they just translated the manga as is and reprinted them.
I wouldn't be surprised because I think even back then in the mid 2000s, I think we did get the DMC3 manga as well. I'd have to double check.
I remember from the 90s because there was a thing called Mixzine or Mixzine, which took like Sailor Moon manga or Oh My Goddess. They called it Oh My Goddess. And it was the standard format for American comic books, like the 8 and what is it?
Yeah, they just reverse it.
They reverse it, obviously, yeah, and they print it on new paper. As opposed
that's fine, yeah.
No, it's
sorry.
Yeah, so I'm just like, I never recalled when they started just taking the individual mangas or even the trade paperback mangas and just switching around the language, and that was it.
So
I do know this was one of those early examples, at least in the 2000s.
Interesting. Okay.
Honestly, it doesn't surprise me that Kingdom Hearts would get a manga. I mean, I know of okay, tell me if you heard this franchise before, Rune Factory.
A little, yeah.
that series got a manga for its 4th installment, and they even have like a confirmed ships or whatever in it. By the way, Dulce is best girl.
I mean, when exactly was the Rune Factory 4 manga released?
I know it has to be. I believe it's around the 3DS days. I'd had to remember that.
Well, the thing here is that Kingdom Hearts, even in the early 2000s when it started, is when it got a manga. Let alone us getting it.
I know that. I'm just saying that wouldn't surprise me that gaming stuff would get a manga adaptation because
Well, but at least at least in the case of Rune Factory was way later. It's like the point being made here is that even as early.
But here's
yeah.
I think I mentioned this to you before, Gingaman, but Rune Factory's one of its companies went into bankruptcy around the time after Rune Factory 4 was released.
Well,
and, it freaking blew.
Yeah, Rune Factory is
imagine.
a Harvest Moon style game, but in 3D, I believe.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Also RPG stuff as well.
Yeah, it's got a whole bunch of mechanics, which is interesting.
Yeah, but to go back to the video, it's like the point is that Kingdom Hearts ended up being so big that even as early as the first game, it got a manga adaptation, and especially us getting it. That should tell you enough about the success of the series, even from right out of the gate.
That means they're combining their marketing with multimedia as opposed to just one product like a video game. For a video game company is different. So they knew it was going to be big, or they were planning for that.
Or they at least had a decent idea of how big it could be, and then it just went above that.
Yeah, so to the point is the game that should have failed, that means the marketing behind Squaresoft was like, no, this is going to do well. We know what we're doing. So.
I guess I just don't know how well a game has. I don't know too much about game stuff and manga stuff. All I do know is that some underrated games do get manga stuff as well.
Oh yeah. I remember with the lead up to Mass Effect 2, the marketing campaign was huge. They did all kinds of extra like novels or novellas, and then they had those really bad comic books, but they knew it was going to be big, and they were right. It's probably their biggest, most popular game.
I remember seeing a lot of that crap back then too. I was I just started high school by the time Mass Effect 2 was about to come out in 2010, and it's like I never expected like less than a decade later playing it for myself. It's like I've told you before that I actually did end up playing the trilogy before, and I agree with everyone. 3's ending is a pile of dog shit.
I have no idea about the Mass Effect series. The only thing I heard about was that the ending pissed off everybody.
And it did.
Yeah. Well,
oh boy, did it.
I'm just comparing the quality of the comic books for that title compared to Kingdom Hearts, which is a manga, which is a different style of storytelling altogether. And I'm like, oh yeah, I bet you the Kingdom Hearts manga, for whatever that is probably a better story, even as weird as it is. So
I mean, I wouldn't know. I haven't read it.
Neither have I.
I would say it's probably better. The quality of the thing that Mac Walters wrote, where Liara becomes a superhero and fights off a gang with her biotic powers, is so ridiculous that it was not worth talking about.
I mean, Abby, just for reference, you want to know how the Mass Effect 3 bullshit went down? Well, our gracious host, I think, was there for it, weren't you? You were there when that shit went down.
Well, we all were. I mean, we watched it happen, and we saw the fallout and the DLC that tried to repair the damage, and
didn't do anything at the end of the day.
Yeah. Anything you give to fans, they're going to love. So it doesn't matter what the fans think. It's the actual people who have brains, and they're no longer fans because they've been betrayed by this multi-path story that went nowhere and gave you the ending of different multicolored explosions. So
the saving grace of 3 at the end of the day is the gameplay.
Yeah,
God damn.
The multiplayer.
Great gameplay.
I'm still playing the multiplayer to this day. So
yeah,
it's fun.
The only multiplayer I know about that I participated in during the Xbox 360 days was Halo Reach.
Well, Halo's a different beast altogether. That speaks for itself.
And the only reason I remember that was because I was in the middle of While I was listening to voice chat, one guy was so pissed off that hurt some pretty.
I mean, there's a reason, before we go back to the video, there's a reason why the Halo 2 servers were still alive for as long as they were, because people were just that dedicated.
All right, let's continue. Here's Carlos Batista. Thank you for the 5. Square originally wanted Mickey to be the main character, but Disney said no. Funny, Disney were jerks even back then. Yeah, but I would probably not want, if I was like in charge of whatever for gaming, I would probably not want Mickey to be the main character of a video game franchise that has a crossover with whatever studio out there. So
basically, this is one of the few occasions in the past 2 or so decades where Disney had the common sense to not want to be in the spotlight for fucking once.
Oh, wait. You can tell it's 2002 because Disney did something sensible or something right for once.
They had common sense.
As ubiquitous and as generic as Mickey is, I don't think you want to start giving him certain personality traits and arcs and plot lines that would this is the mascot of an entire massive billion-dollar company. So you don't want to do that.
And you say that a pre-established character could have done the job Sora did. We can at least agree that Mickey would not have fit at all.
No, you wouldn't use him, but you'd get like a video game character like Cloud, who has a troubled, mysterious past and amnesia, and you're like, okay, that could work. Yeah, okay. Go with that. Maybe,
and that was during the point where Final Fantasy really like hit its stride in pop culture, so maybe that could have worked.
When you get to, does he pop up in the first game or the second game, Cloud?
Yes, no, he pops up in both. In both.
The second one.
Yeah,
no, he pops up in both.
And his character design is all different. He's got all these belts.
In the first game, it's his classic design with certain things from Vincent. In 2, it's Advent Children.
Then he's got like the wings and all this other weird shit. And you're like, okay, that's strange enough. You could write a story around the dream world or why he's the way he is. So that would be fine. People would be like, oh wow, I get to play as Cloud, main character in this weird spin-off that has Disney characters in it. That's cool. But
I would totally love to see a Kingdom Hearts game that lets you play as other characters like Kairi or Riku or
Remind for 3.
What?
Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind.
What is that?
The DLC for 3.
Don't worry, it's fine.
It's the DLC for 3 that's a retread of the final stretch in the Keyblade Graveyard. You can play as the other characters. That's it.
I meant like the entire game though.
Oh well, that's a whole other story.
Oh yeah. What I wanted to say was this is probably the reason why you don't want to have Mickey Mouse as your main character. Oh, time to do some bloodshed.
You would not be able to take him seriously.
Yeah, I know.
Why do you think they relegate him to secondary hero? Except not really. He's just unattached enough where he's like, yeah, he can be there, but he's not there for too long.
Did somebody say the doors to darkness?
That's kind of close to what he says in Kingdom Hearts 2, kind of.
I know, I was making fun of it.
All right, okay. Here is Rough Dog again for the 5. Listen, Sora is in Smash, and he was the most requested character. That should tell you how successful this series is. Oh yeah, that's fine.
That is true. He was the most highly requested character for Smash for the past decade or so.
Yeah.
And not Bayonetta because she had to ruin everything.
I mean, she was number 1 in Europe to a lesser extent, but overall it was Sora.
All right.
Dear God, I'm still mad about Bayonetta and Smash 4.
I mean, then again, that Bayonetta and Smash 4 was during the point when Nintendo was forming a really good relationship with Platinum Games, starting with Bayonetta 2.
It's not that. It's the fact that she ruined the meta.
No, I know, but I'm just saying the reason. I'm just saying part of the reason why she got in the first place.
No. I know why she got in. I'm just mad about her ruining everything in the meta.
Well, that's just Sakurai trying to be too faithful to the original to its original series for its own sake, and he ended up and it ended up biting him in the ass so much that when it came to what was it the Invitational for Ultimate at E3, Bayonetta was still just as broken at that point, and that's when they decided to fix her.
It was so bad that there were so many videos detailing how much they hated Bayonetta or a screw you Bayonetta, like top 10 Bayonetta owned
Okay.
moment. Which I
Just
cheer.
to go back to the video, you remember seeing the Invitational, right? When it ended, when Sakurai came on stage,
Oh,
when he
yeah.
said that, after seeing some gameplay, I realized there's still a few things to fix. A lot of people think he was referring to Bayonetta.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get back to the video.
Not to mention how hyped I was to see Donald and Goofy on the back cover of the book. So I knew I wanted to grab that one the next day. And I'm sure you can guess how that story ended. I read it day and night over and over and over again. I loved Sora, Riku, and Kairi so much. I loved the whole concept of Sora getting to travel with and meet Disney characters. He was basically living the life any kid would dream of. I was able to embody Sora as I read and put myself in his shoes. That's probably why I grew so attached to this series. So of course, it wouldn't be till half a decade later when I found out the games existed and dove down the rabbit hole that led me all the way here today. But okay, I've been talking about Kingdom Hearts, but I haven't actually said what Kingdom Hearts is. See, this is what happens when you talk about stuff you really like. You just get so disorganized. But anyway, Kingdom Hearts is a 2002 JRPG.
I'll admit, I'll testify to that being disorganized because I did a video on Rune Factory 4 or Rune Factory 5's announcement. I was so excited that during that entire video, I was so disorganized in that video and people called me out for it. Needless to say, yeah, probably one of my cringier videos.
Yeah, it's a bit too much of a roll of the dice when you just ramble on because you like something that much. But I'm just like, there's a point where you just gotta cut it. And
I know.
No, I'm talking to this guy. It's like there's just that point where you gotta cut yourself off and just get down to the issue.
Well, he has been doing this for 3 minutes, which is better than some of the other people we've come across where they go on for a good 10 minutes and then they finally get to their points. So.
RPG for the PlayStation 2, made by Squaresoft, who are now known as Square Enix. For the protagonist, Sora lives on a tropical island called the Destiny Islands with his friends Riku and Kairi. Though lately this trio has been dreaming about what lies beyond the horizon out there in the distance. They want to go out and see what other worlds look like someday. And while there's no time like the present, so our heroes immediately begin working on a raft that can provide what they need. And I've got to say, while I understand that some might not like this segment of exploring the island and gathering the resources we need for the trip, as it is kind of slow, I love this segment. The exploration here gives us time to see the other kids who live on the island, all of which are Final Fantasy characters, those being Selby from Final Fantasy VIII and Tidus and Wakka from Final Fantasy X. Not just that, but it also gives us time to become attached to this place, a peaceful island that, while it may not have a lot going on, it feels like home. I think the opening here is definitely an inviting one that doesn't overstay its welcome. And now, though, with some slacking off here and there, they managed to get everything together they needed for the raft. But the following night, trouble seems to be brewing on the island. Worried that the raft might get ruined by the storm, Sora sets out to go see what's wrong, only to find that both Riku and Kairi must be here as well. But like something out of a nightmare, growing out of the sands are what appears to be some kind of monsters that not even his wooden sword can take out. So instead of fighting, Sora just tries to swiftly find his friends, only to find Riku talking some nonsense about using the power of darkness to go and see other worlds. But just as Sora was being enveloped by said darkness, he's saved by a bright light, and with it comes the Keyblade, a sword in the image of a key with mystical powers, powerful enough to defeat the monsters polluting his island. Gathering his courage, Sora fights onward to find Kairi, and while he does find her, a powerful gust of wind flings her forward and she disappears and passes through Sora, with him being blown away soon after. Sora then finds himself on his island, completely destroyed by the darkness, with a giant monster intending to attack him. Honestly, at this point, my 14-year-old self would have reacted horribly here. Sora's a lot braver than me, because if this was me in this situation, I'd honestly just pass back out and let it happen.
All right, we don't need to know all this stuff. We need to get to the point he's trying to make.
Oh yeah, I think he's just trying to build up his I guess personal testimony about his experiences with the thing.
Yeah, the Keyblade, aka one of the most improbable weapons ever.
No, that would be the Gunblade.
Well, that speaks for itself.
Yeah, but you wouldn't have like the ability to pull the trigger and use bullets from it because you'd have to worry about the sword. And the sword, it would be just like a stupid bayonet rifle, so you might as well just use a regular sword anyways.
It doesn't make it any less stupid. And we've seen we've seen worse weapons.
Oh dear God! I just got reminded of the joke weapons in 358 over 2 days, I believe.
The organization's weapons.
Yeah, they're joke weapons. Like one of them had like regular discs, like game discs. Another one had like
Did any of them have a broom? There's always a broom there somewhere.
I swear, I think it would not put. I would not put past them to put a broom there.
Over Sora, which sucks the fight and drop MP and HP orbs, you're stuck with relying solely on whatever items you brought with you and attacking.
Yeah, I'm trying to fast forward it, but he's like it's jumping and stopping, so I have to rewind it a bit.
Sorry, I was just worried. I was like, 10 minutes? I didn't know we went that far.
Yeah, no, he's just talking about the game in detail. Like he's going through all the chapters. I'm like, dude, that's not what you do when you're talking about why a game or a game franchise or whatever does or does not work. You have to talk about why it worked. You don't go chapter by chapter and say, I like this and this was good for me. It's like, that's fine, but that's not the general view that everyone else thinks.
If the only reason you should be talking about all the chapters is if you're doing a rundown or some kind of review of it.
Yeah, and he's just saying this should have failed because it's bad. Like, does he have to list all the bad things? But this guy's a super fan, so it's like he's gonna love it all. So I don't know.
Well, you could still be a super fan and still say that this is kind of garbage because it's out of love, not hate.
I know, but you don't need this amount of time to nitpick things that are bad. You just go as an overview. You do like, okay, what doesn't work? And you talk about the gameplay in one section, you talk about the music and the sound or whatever, and you break it down. He's just like talking about the chapters as he's going by, and I'm like, that's like reading the book.
Times in the games you'll have to jump here, jump there, skip across these 3 to 5 platforms, jump along these small things, and yada yada. I don't like this. I'm not saying it's inherently bad, but it
was made for this.
Strayed away from, and I think that was for the best. In fact, regarding the worlds, honestly, I found them all to be pretty good, with only a few exceptions. Tarzan's world is a crazy drag. Not only is the world freaking huge with differing paths, but the level design is so disconnected and samey that all the rooms kind of blend together sometimes. I played this.
Oh, it blends together, kind of like the jungle.
Game for years and I still find myself going the wrong way sometimes. But Tarzan's World isn't the only exception. Monstro made me want to fall asleep and turn the game off at the same time, and if I could do both at the same time, I promise you I would have done it. This world has the same problem as Tarzan, except in my opinion worse in some capacity. While the world story-wise uses the Pinocchio cast in this world is shorter than Tarzan's, you'd think that'd be a good thing, but in the end it doesn't matter because you're gonna get lost in this world, especially if it's your first time going through it. Every room's design is dang near identical, with only the platforms and items within being different, and while that can be identifiable enough, it doesn't feel like it's enough sometimes. And the reason I feel that way is because years prior, another company had a level in their game that was inside the belly of a whale, and that's Ocarina of Time. And within that level, it obviously looks more bleak than others because you're inside the belly of a whale. But Ocarina of Time avoids this issue because although you're inside a whale, each...
Really?
Well, you could get the subtitles if you want to.
Yeah, I was just wondering if I was missing anything important because it didn't look like anything was going.
He's trying to equate this to Ocarina of Time because there's a similar level design, and I'm like, that's fine, but that's a well-received game, so why would that be an example of the game failing? Unless everyone looks at a better game and says this is a better way of doing it, and this is lackluster in comparison.
To be fair, I'll give him... It could be like him saying that this is just a rehashed copy of something else that's... Because I've heard that criticism before, where they talk about some levels being garbage copies of another one. I believe I heard this quite a few times from Angry Joe, I believe. I could be wrong, but I have heard that criticism before. Or if something is similar to another thing, they'll just say it sucks.
Yeah, but this is well into the game, so people who don't like it wouldn't have gotten this far. They would have gotten tired or bored or whatever. And to start saying, hey, this is just like this other excellent game, you're like, well, okay, so it's a good game then.
room is much smaller than that of Monstro, and the decor inside each room is much more identifiable despite the walls and ceilings being just nasty innards of a sea creature. It made it hard to get lost in. Now this could be because Zelda goes for more puzzle-focused designs for its scenarios while Kingdom Hearts doesn't. I don't think it matters too much in this kind of scenario. It just comes off as uninspired design in the case of Monstro. Another world I really don't care for is Atlantica, based on The Little Mermaid. This world is way too long for its own good. Not the longest in the game, but because of the gimmick of this world, it feels like it just can't end quick enough. So in this world, thanks to Donald's magic, they enter the world as sea creatures. Sora as a merman, Donald as an octopus, and Goofy as a sea turtle. This is the mainly people.
Everyone hates these.
I just want to say something. You all know Monster Hunter, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
How in 3 they had underwater levels and how everyone hated them. I think I was one of the few people that actually liked the combat in them.
If there's two things that are somewhat difficult to pull off correctly in video games, it's water and ice.
Well, all he's getting at here is that the levels themselves are big and slow, and they take a while to get through. And it's like, okay, but that's the game. Every level is kind of like that. It's slow, and there's lots of combat, and you have to enjoy it. So again, if you've gotten this far, you clearly want to keep playing, whether you think the game design is bad or not, because you just like the game. And that's the same with many games that I've played. The levels are big or the stories are long, and you have to get through them, and there's certain sections you like and certain sections you don't. That's normal. But that's not an example of why it should have failed. That's just things along the story that you don't like, or things along the game you don't like as much. And he's already admitted he really likes the stories and the characters. So it's like, all right, if you like your characters, you like their plots, you are going to go through whatever tribulation the game gives you.
It's either the gameplay or the levels that he's going to be complaining about. And admittedly, I thought the gameplay in the first one was kind of slow.
It is definitely first game syndrome.
Oh, dear God. I've also heard about the cutscenes being unskippable.
On PS2.
And I had the PS2.
But I don't think this is in the version he's playing, though. So he has that advantage here.
Well, yeah, but we still... But he's talking about the first game, right? The game that shouldn't have passed or whatever.
It should have failed, which he hasn't brought up anything alluding to that yet.
Right.
Maybe we can find something about the gameplay.
All right.
Or no one is supposed to know they're from other worlds. And while at first in the cutscene this seems cool, as soon as you move Sora, you can tell this is something that's gonna feel clunky the entire way through, and that is certainly the case. This world requires a lot of precise maneuvering, be it during combat or exploration or even talking to NPCs, and because now you gotta worry more about depth and elevation, there's a dash of jank added onto something that's been so simple for this entire time so far. But this is the only real problem I have with this one, and the rest of the worlds aren't really a bother either. There's the one...
Okay, so he's talking about death and elevation, right? That's nothing new for Kingdom Hearts. Like, it's a platforming adventure game where you attack people, right? You've always got to worry about elevation no matter what.
Yeah, this is nothing new for platformers in general.
I mean, if anything, it helps with the fact that you can go up and stay up and, like, levitating and shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, oh, I gotta press this button, and then hopefully I don't freaking die when I come across the ground or whatever again.
It's just something that helps service the combat.
Yeah.
The
only problem is your enemies now have that advantage as well.
Yeah, from the beginning.
and that makes it a bit more unique, but I find it more that than annoying, so it's not really a big deal for me. However, when it comes to the worlds, the worst thing about all of them isn't the worlds themselves, it's what leads up to them. I hate the Gummy ship missions. Okay, so in between worlds, you sit at the world map screen, and on it you can choose where you want to go on the Gummy ship. But in order to get to a world, you have to fly through space in these watered down Star Fox 64 segments. Now let me say this, there is nothing inherently wrong with these segments. It's not like they're unfair or even overly wrong. So am I just hating? Possibly, but I genuinely don't find them fun at all. They're not even challenging either, because you can just spam hold the fire button and always have a cleared pathway for yourself. And while sometimes you'll need to use a bit more effort to do so, it was never a problem. And even 9 out of 10 times I did these, I never even took damage. And if I did, it was quickly recovered from the enemy drops, so it wasn't even noticeable. I think if the Gummy ship was equipped with more movement and attack options, maybe even throw in a boss fight, it'd be a much better kind of segment for the game. But because that's not the case, I'll always turn my brain off during these missions.
That's not the case here, but that's exactly what they do in the next 2 games.
Yeah, he's talking about the first one though. Let's. The second one, they did improve it. They improved it a lot from what I heard. I don't know. I've never played the original Gummy ship missions, but I heard that the second one was phenomenal.
And then the third, it's even better.
Haven't played the third because I don't have a PS system.
It's on Xbox and PC too.
It's one of the mods I've got installed on this version of the game. So I'm playing the PC version of the game, which was kindly given to me by Square themselves, so I can more easily make these videos. So shout out to them. But yeah, one thing that's all.
Wait, he got something from Square?
Huh?
I think
better
it's
kind
a
of segment for the game.
some kind
But because
of service.
that's not the case, I'll always
Yeah,
turn my
yeah.
brain off during these missions. Oh yeah, and I guess you probably noticed one of the mods I've got installed on this version of the game. So I'm playing the PC version of the game, which was kindly given to me by Square themselves, so I can more easily make these videos. So shout out to.
I thought it was
so it's a sponsored video.
Yeah.
No, it's not. I don't know if it's a sponsored video. I thought it was like Squaresoft or not Squaresoft, but
Yeah, Square gave him the game.
I was thinking more of those stupid what are those? Those, you know, stuff like Blue Apron and all those other shitty advertisements nobody cares about when they watch stuff like that.
Yeah.
I thought it was one of those for a second.
What, the whole video?
No. I thought he mentioned one of those. I was like, oh, it's probably one of those things.
Yeah, no, Square actually gave them the PC version of Kingdom Hearts 1.
Which, for those who don't know, is on the Epic Game Store.
I do not know what the difference is between Epic Games and Steam. What's the difference between those?
Well, they're 2 different platforms, but they do exactly the same function. The difference is they have their own exclusive titles. So it's like loading up your game library from one or the other. And some games are on Steam and some games aren't. Same with Epic Mega Games.
So I heard that Epic gives out like free games. So why isn't that thing more popular?
It depends. Steam was first, is the biggest, and Epic, in order to become popular, they need more exclusive titles like Fortnite and whatever Unreal Engine games, like you immediately are allowed to.
Let me give you some examples. The entire Kingdom Hearts series, Final Fantasy VII Remake, and Scott Pilgrim vs. the World are all Epic exclusive.
Oh my
to name
god!
a few.
Yeah, so they need exclusives, they need deals, and they need free games. That's how or free products. That's how you compete with anything bigger with you that's a storefront. So
I think Epic gives out a different free game a day or a week. I don't know.
Yeah, it's different. It's not AAA, but it's it's up there. It's not a cheap game.
Well, Steam overall has the better deal because they do week-long sales every other week.
Yeah, Steam has a wider selection and they let a lot of things go, whereas Epic is like, we only do quality titles of whatever, budget. So
the problem with Epic Game Store is that it was a bit too behind the curve compared to Steam, and whenever someone pointed it out, it's like, yeah, we're a new platform. It's like, we're trying to develop this shit. Meanwhile, you've been seeing Steam operate for years. They have these features, you don't. You have no excuse.
Well, to be fair, different companies know different things about layouts and stuff. They could, Yeah, Epic.
Not even. Well, no, I don't. Well, I don't mean like the visuals or the layout. I mean like the practicality of it.
Well,
It's like they were making excuses that they were. Oh, we're new. We're trying to figure stuff out. Steam's been around for like a decade or so. Why do you not have these features and this functionality?
All I know is I think Epic Games is probably good for Steam either way because of the fact that it provides competition. And, well, it pretty much would inspire both to make better games.
And better business decisions. But meanwhile, Valve's about to deal with like the fallout of everyone complaining about the TF2 bot crisis. But that's a whole other topic.
Oh, God, I heard about that.
That's a whole separate thing. Let's move on.
Well, I do want to add. I do want to say that Scott Pilgrim vs. the World was my nostalgia when I had the Xbox 360.
The reason why I haven't bought it yet is because it's on Epic. But anyway,
it's a good game. You gotta get it.
I've seen.
But yeah,
yes.
one thing that's always bothered me about Kingdom Hearts 1 going back to it after playing later entries in the series is how low the FOV is. Like legit, it's got to be set to like 50. Honor games being set to 80 nowadays already feels so boxed in, so it's hard to enjoy the zoom camera by default. But luckily I found an FOV mod online that sets it to a more desirable setting. Pretty unnecessary for most, but hey, it made all the difference to me. Though I will say the one flaw with it is that Kingdom Hearts 1 was not designed around a higher FOV, so there was a couple of moments where either in combat or in exploration, a wall it already passed by is peeking in, obscuring the view. It was only really distracting once in the game for me during the battles in Olympus Coliseum, and any other time I experienced it, it didn't affect me in combat or anything. And of course, the mod doesn't affect cutscenes or anything, so if you want to try it out for yourself, that's not something you need to worry about. But speaking of its story, I think it's about time we get back to that and its characters. So essentially the game starts to set up that Maleficent is kinda influencing Riku into thinking that Sora has forgotten about him and Kairi and only cares about his new friends, which is one, dumb because Sora literally tells him they've been looking for him everywhere and even invites him to join so they can find Kairi too. And two, more dumb because why is he getting jealous when it hasn't even been long since they last saw each other? It's been what, a few days at most?
Well, to be fair, Maleficent is like the devil here.
Yeah, he's talking about a villain in a story. It's not, that's not why it failed. That's just, the villain is...
He's just saying Riku's being dumb, but dear God, like...
Would that cause players to stop playing? I don't think so.
No.
I mean, I think Edelgard was a freaking shit protagonist in Three Houses, but I still play it. Well, I don't play it anymore because it got boring to me, but still...
Oh, and Matthew's pointing out in the chat the fact that you can't refund in Steam and you can't write reviews. That's some of the things that Epic's been getting flack for since it came out.
Wait a minute, what now?
That Matthias in the chat pointed out that you either can't refund on Steam and you also can't write reviews.
Wait, Steam doesn't allow refunds anymore?
No, on Epic.
Oh. Okay.
On Epic, that's some of the features that they've been getting that they were getting flack for initially.
Oh yeah, that's shit. That's garbage.
And I'm just like, yeah, that's a scummy decision.
That's EA levels of scummy, if you ask me. But
it is.
All right, I think I've advanced it relatively well. I don't know. He's still talking about the story and music, I think.
Well, to be fair, I'm going to give him credit. The story is a good point about it being dumb, because, dear God, is it overly complicated?
I mean, not so much Kingdom Hearts 1 on its own.
Yeah, but after that, you start to see some complications.
Actually, it really started with 2.
Yeah, 2... Actually, it was because of Chains of Memories. Then it became 2. And then
technically it started with 2 because Chain of Memories was on GBA, and people thought, oh, it's not on that was during the era where, if it's not on a console, it's a spinoff.
And then turns out
it's important. Yeah.
Let's see. Well, how many times has lore been involved with Kingdom Hearts? Or how many times have we seen lore involving Kingdom Hearts get introduced because of something stupid? We got spin-offs, quote unquote. We have musicals. We got interviews. I would not
We
be
got
surprised if
a hotel room.
a hotel. Are you kidding?
Literally a Kingdom Hearts themed hotel room in Disneyland, Japan. I'm not kidding.
What?
And that hotel room ties into Melody of Memories.
What's next? Is Kingdom Hearts gonna do something like Kojima levels of crazy, where they tattoo somebody, some lore onto somebody, and say, "Hey, advertise for us"?
I mean, hey, Kingdom Hearts 4 is gonna be in like some kind of version of the real world where everyone looks realistic. So let's see.
Oh.
I can only imagine what's gonna. I can only imagine what's gonna happen now with the lore.
All right.
Oh.
For now, we
Moving
can
on.
leave it at him being the seeker of darkness. He's a man who gave into darkness and became a heartless, but because he had separated his heart from his body and soul before this, he was able to keep his intellect and sense of self while being a heartless. This allowed him to be able to destroy every world he set out for up to this point without even having his identity revealed. He eventually ends up possessing the darkness within Riku, making him a new vessel and granting him a human appearance. But while Sora sacrificed himself to save Kairi, this allowed Ansem to win out as this completed the final keyhole. Though Riku is fighting back Ansem for control of his body, which allowed Kairi, Donald, and Goofy to get away, Ansem ends up sending Riku's heart into the—
All right, whatever. This is fine, but nothing to do with the point of this video.
All I can say is the darkness. The darkness. The darkness is just... It's just like the ultimate... The darkness did it for Kingdom Hearts. Anything complicated involved? The darkness. Which is depressing and funny.
Okay, here's something.
and every single one is made to where it's possible to beat the game at level 1 still. More power to those who want to do that, but that's not really my cup of tea. In fact, let me say this here because it's going to be relevant for the other games and retrospectives I do going forward. I'm not a big video game difficulty guy these days. I personally prefer extra time going into the game, so the game doesn't need a difficulty selection. I like games that by design can be as easy or as difficult as you make them. Games like Chrono Trigger have spoiled me in this aspect, and now I truly believe this is how all RPGs should be. Artificially changing the difficulty by tweaking enemy AI or buffing or nerfing.
Wait a second. As much as I love Chrono Trigger, I don't think every game should be like that, especially for gameplay. That's weird.
It should take inspiration from it at best.
Well, yeah, but with Chrono Trigger, you get up to level 99 or whatever it was, and then that's it. It's like you don't need... The rest is just getting tabs to increase your stats as you play through multiple times, but that's unique to Chrono Trigger. You wouldn't want that system in place for everything. Having a stat system with levels is very uniquely tied to progression in the story and levels and boss encounters and all that other balancing issues. You can't just say, well, because active time battle and Chrono Trigger was so good, therefore we should do that. It's like, no, you can do whatever you like.
Yeah, his argument here is that games like Kingdom Hearts should have a singular difficulty based on the game it wants to be. I'm just like,
no.
So you give credit to Dark Souls then?
Yeah.
I just thought of something because I just got reminded of my frustrations with this one game that I grew to love so much. Ginga Man knows I fanboy over Tangle Deep quite a lot.
Yeah, that and Rhythm Thief.
Okay, so here's the thing about Tangle Deep. It has like 3 difficulty modes, as well as modifiers to do however you want the difficulty. There's Heroic, where there's permadeath, but you get to play with the different player character afterwards. There's Adventurer mode, where you get where you basically get to keep the same one, but if you die, you still take a pretty nasty penalty. It's a roguelike, by the way. And Hardcore, where it's basically you die and the save file's deleted. And on top of that, there's also stuff like increasing difficulty modifiers, like adding more Pandora boxes, regenerate stuff out of combat, more champion enemies, stuff like that. You get to choose all that before you start your game. That's how you do difficulty. Cater to pretty much everybody, and it's awesome.
And then here's an example of a game that the difficulty spike really is not warranted. Batman Arkham Origins has 3 difficulties. has 3 playthroughs. You have the normal playthrough. You have New Game Plus, which is harder, where they take away the counter prompts, and then Origin specifically has I Am the Night mode, where the game is even harder, and if you lose even once, you have to start the whole game over. You could get all the way up to the TN1 Bane fight at the very end, but if you die to him, you gotta play the whole game over again.
That sounds so frustrating.
It is. You have no idea how many times I have gotten to that last Bane fight, and I've died right there.
Well, it's the same,
because of how strong he is.
It's the same argument with Elden Ring, which has no difficulty levels. It's just the way the game was designed.
Yeah, it's a From Software game. That speaks for itself.
I know, but that's the same thing. Like, how do you grade RPGs as a whole from Japan just because of Chrono Trigger? Like, I would never, as much as you love a game, you would never just say, this, nothing compares to that. Like, well, of course not. It's a totally different experience.
And you want
Elden Ring also, I mean, sorry to interrupt, but Elden Ring also has the advantage that the Souls subgenre has had like just over a decade to be in the public consciousness, so that it can gauge how to balance everything.
Well, even if it was a no-name, because there are all kinds of Soul clones out there, even if it was made by a no-name company, that, yeah, the consciousness of the gamers be like, oh, this is like a Souls game, but it's not made by From Software. They would be like, okay, we know who audience this is for. And I actually wouldn't be surprised if someone is already working on a lower budget inspiration from Elden Ring because it was so influential.
I mean, we can even go back all the way back to the original Demon Souls from the early 7th gen.
Yeah, I mean,
they had no idea what they were doing there, and then they somehow pulled it off.
Yeah, any challenging game like bullet hell games or difficulty modes where you die, like that's the same concept. It's so hard that's what people want it for. So, if you want a streamlined, easy to play, easy to master, like Chrono Trigger is not a hard game to play. And it's fun. It's fun to walk around because everything is so well done, and that's all it is. It's nothing special in terms of gameplay. I would say.
I do want to say 2 things. One, I think the original Souls game was not really Dark Souls, but rather Monster Hunter. The original Monster Hunter. Dear God, that game was so difficult. That game was brutal. Like chewing on leather boots tough.
Eesh.
That's how. But the funny thing was, the Chrono Trigger, it reminded me of Tangle Deep because Tangle Deep takes inspiration from Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy VI, especially with its sprite artwork. Dear God, that sprite artwork is so good.
I would say it probably pulls from Secret of Mana a bit more. 6 was still the style of, with 5, only just slightly bigger palettes. And there's nothing graphically different, I would say, in 6 than 5. The biggest thing was probably the wavetable for the music or the sound with the opera. But other than that, I think it was pretty much the same color scheme. Like there's no like they didn't add any new visuals or techniques like for flying the airship, and like nothing was burning away the chipset so that it needed more processing power or anything like that. Like when you bought was it Majora's Mask? It came with the expansion slot, or what the hell was it called?
I think it was it's a Rumble expansion pack, I believe.
Something like that. I can't remember what it was. But yeah, that's kind of what certain games needed, and Nintendo always pushes the envelope with that, which is cool because they don't design heavy duty hardware. They just made games for fun and things that worked from the previous generation of consoles. So I don't know. It's a silly argument. Game designers are always going to try their own thing anyway, so I don't see it a big deal.
And while I'm fanboying over games, I want to say Dicey Dungeons, also a good game as well. And Ys 8. Both of them I love.
All right. Here is Rough Dog 1000 again. Thank you for the 5. The darkness are actual beings now according to the mobile games. I love the complicated nature of these games' story. Still hate the mobile game though. Yeah, some people like that there's so much world building and there's so much to get lost into. That doesn't mean it's easy to access. That the average player of JRPGs or just games in general will be like, oh yeah, I understand this. This is fun. I could follow along. It's very difficult. And if it was more down to earth, it might be more digestible. But because it's so melodramatic and dreamlike and colorful and cutesy, and then it has these dark elements, it's like they're reaching in every direction at times, and you're sort of sitting there scratching your head like, what's going on here? Who is this guy? He's a copy.
Sometimes the complicated stuff, it can work. Like, again, East 8 has a pretty complicated story, but it's still something you can follow along with. It's like you can play through this, and one thing leads to another, and you can realize, oh, I can pick up on this. But the non-complicated stuff also is pretty good. Like, you all know Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, right?
Pokemon?
Yeah, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon.
Oh, okay, I thought it was a Kokobo Dungeon.
There's also a Chocobo's Mystery Dungeon, but Pokemon Mystery Dungeon has a pretty simple story. But the emotions in both of them are still something that you will feel. Like, I still tear up like a baby during Explorers the Skies ending every time.
All right, so we have about 8 minutes left. He did a roundabout way of doing this, but that's fine.
HP pools, and all that stuff can be completely avoided through game design. The Kingdom Hearts games never take advantage of this, but I dream of a day it will. But anyways, back to the final fight. It ends with Ansem opening the door to darkness, hoping Kingdom Hearts will fill him with the power of darkness so we can defeat our heroes. But thanks to Sora's conviction of the truth behind Kingdom Hearts, nothing but a ray of light pours out of the door, destroying Ansem and gifting Riku's body back. With not much left to do now, the heroes have to hurry and close the door. Riku, who's on the opposite side of the door, has to stay within it to help seal the door from the inside. Sora, obviously not being okay with that, has the long-awaited King Mickey from the other side with Riku, reassuring him, Keyblade in hand, telling him that there's always going to be a door to the light. Donald and Goofy reassuring him to trust the king, with everyone working together, and a final favor from Riku asking for Sora to take care of Kairi. The door is shut, and Sora and King Mickey seal the door from both sides with their Keyblades. The destroyed worlds start to reform after this, sending Kairi back to Destiny Islands, as the two, now being separated, promise to be together again one day. And I've just gotta say, the ending of this game hits me right in my heart every freaking time. It's an ending that never gets old. The CGI cutscene showing the sadness of these two being separated, the Destiny Islands reforming, Kairi finding Sora's drawing of feeding her a Paopu fruit, you know, the legendary fruit that symbolizes an eternal bond between those that share it, and her drawing the same thing but her feeding him. All of it just melts my heart. I genuinely think this is one of the best endings in the series. It feels like everything we've done up to this point was leading to the solidification of how these two feel about each other. While yeah, the words weren't spoken, but if you compare how Sora reacted to the idea of sharing the Paopu with Kairi at the beginning of the game to now, you can see the growth in his character, as now the possibility of losing her has become a very real thing. It made him not want to avoid these feelings and regret it down the line. Now, this is a topic I don't want to touch on too much, frankly, because it's a rabbit hole whose many people in the fandom feel very passionate about. And I get it. I'm a sucker for romance too. If you look at my watch history on Netflix,
let me guess, he's referring to the typical Riku X Sora shippers are OTP.
Yeah, we gotta advance this. This is getting nowhere.
Yeah, I hate those people. The second they see two guy characters look at each other are total bros. Oh my gosh, they are destined.
There we go. Okay, here. Hopefully, it's back on topic.
Yeah.
I hate those type of shippers.
So do I.
But like most JRPGs, it's got a pretty decent post-game too. While you can do some of this during the game, after you beat its world, Olympus Coliseum opens up the games.
It's not an argument. That's after the game. That means people have played it all the way through. Okay, come on. That's not.
Feel like we got punked on this one.
Yeah, what the hell is that? If you play the whole game, it doesn't work, but it should have. Like, what? No.
maybe he's referring to it as like a critical standpoint, but it's still a stupid argument he's making.
Well, no, he's talking about the game in detail. It's like, dude, that's not what you do when you're talking about why a game should have failed. You see it from a 30-foot or whatever you want to call a high-rise perspective. You're just looking down at it and say, oh yeah, that thing's going to blow up in fire, and then it doesn't, and you're like, why? You should see it from up top, and you have numbers and stats and opinions. You don't start talking about, well, this mechanic here doesn't work as well in the second. It's like, I don't care. You're changing your tone.
Honestly, I could probably do one of these videos myself and post on my channel to show you how you do one of these videos.
Ooh, is that a challenge?
Yeah, I'm thinking about doing it. If I feel like, if I am so determined, you know what? If someone in the comments says, if there's like, I don't know, support for that, I will do it.
All right.
I will do it out of spite, just to show how to do a video like that.
Okay, let's try here.
Just plan to take him on. He's tough even at level 100, so it definitely requires.
No.
Get on with it. And there's Kurt Zisa. And then this man. And then this ugly thing.
Still a post game. I don't care about the post game.
Make the point. Oh.
Okay, here we go.
Look at Kingdom Hearts, the game that honestly should have failed, but I'm eternally thankful it didn't.
Why?
Next, in terms of Kingdom Hearts retrospectives.
No, you didn't say why. What? The guy's like, oh, this game's amazing. Everything's amazing about this game. It shouldn't have worked, though. You're like, is there a reason you wanted to share with us?
How long we been going?
I think an hour. Yeah, a little over an hour.
Are there any
Hour and 10 minutes, I believe.
Like, if I were to talk about why I think the Mass Effect franchise should have failed, and I give reasons like the story sucks, the gameplay doesn't work, it's all a watered-down version of what came before, it's always competing with better games out there and never hitting the mark, all these reasons, and yet it sold well, who cares? Why did it sell well? It was popular, the marketing, the characters.
Who cares? I like it.
Like, give me reasons why it worked. Not that it's a bad... It's like an overpriced, low-quality product. Why did it do so well? We know why it's a low-quality product. Everyone knows why, but they keep buying it anyway. Why? It's like Coca-Cola. Why do you keep buying Coca-Cola? It's a name brand. It's been around for 50, 60, whatever.
Okay, to be fair, I've tasted the taste of Coca-Cola Zero and a diet or like a knockoff version of it. I will taste a difference between those two. The taste is pretty reliable.
Yeah.
It's not like it's gonna be dog garbage when you taste something. You know it's gonna be generally the same, unless you're like one of the unlucky people that had to find a frog stuck in their Pepsi, which actually did.
I'm hoping to see some sort of critical, objective look at what makes a game sell and what makes it not sell. And I was watching the little bit of the Amber Heard. This is the last week of the Amber Heard trial. They talked about how Aquaman made like 600 million gross or whatever it was. It was a huge amount of money. And I was like, really? That was a shit movie. That was a really dumb movie. But it pulled in the dollars. Like, that would be
better than BVS.
Yeah, why did that make so much money? And everyone knows that's a fan of DC films or superhero films will tell you, yeah, compared to those, that thing sucked. And yet it did well. So why is that? And you have like Star, they had Jason Momoa, they had good marketing, they had advertisements with McDonald's or whatever. Like, it was all this connection to make money. You would have to do that research because it's a marketing question. You're saying why, and you'd have to deal with that. You would not deal with, well, I'm a fan and I love this part of the game and I love that part of the game. This music was good and blah blah blah. You're like, was that a selling point? Was the gameplay the selling point? Was they got some musician a selling point? Like, you can't just say this stuff and without connecting it. So This video is just a fanboy gushing.
This title is clickbait.
Yeah.
This title is clickbait. Kingdom Hearts video gone wrong, gone sexual.
Now he's just talking about what he's going to do next in his YouTube channel. I'm like, yeah, it's great.
Honestly, yeah, I'm tempted to make
memes.
a video like this.
Yeah.
Just to say, this is how you do it, son.
Stay on topic.
Okay, memes.
Just stay on topic, folks. That's all I got to do.
Or don't have a clickbaity title.
Oh, speaking of DC, has either of you seen the Shazam movie?
It's fine.
I like that movie. It's real good.
I mean, anything's gonna be good after BBS.
All right. Here we go. Stream memes time. Here's a panel from the manga. Oh.
I don't remember who it was, but the last time we did Kingdom Hearts, someone had this as the PFP. I don't remember who.
Oh, boy. Historical gunblade. Yeah, no, there are plenty of examples of weapons as guns that have like a halberd or sword or
not a gun sword. That's a gun machete.
Well, yeah, no, there are historical examples. So.
Oh, I know. It's just
it's not a big deal. That is a axe gun. That's pretty cool. Yeah, look at that.
Yes.
I saw the tunified Sora. Wait. Let me get my Pegasus impersonation. Welcome, Riku boy, to Toon World.
Oh God.
Change your main Gummy ship to Garfield. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, you can make pretty much anything in Kingdom Hearts 3 for your Gummy ship.
Cool. When someone says Gummy, everyone, Kingdom Hearts fans, yeah.
Yeah.
Fortnite is down and players are able to log in. There are so many jokes that would probably get me in trouble.
So another Heartless ship down. The Heartless can't pilot Gummy ships. They're just mindless monsters. Wait, really? Then whose ships have we been destroying?
Lady and the Tramp going on a pretty cool cruise.
Oh, no.
It's like Minecraft, but in space and more complicated and no fun. Oh.
Kinda.
More. Our popularity systems, our propulsory systems are down.
Yeah.
Life support systems failing. Our navigation systems are beyond repair. Can't you do anything? Redirect all power to the engines or something. The engines were never stable in the first place. We're going down. This possibly could have been avoided if we hadn't built the ship entirely out of guns.
I regret nothing.
Interesting. I have no idea what I'm doing. Okay. Yeah.
It's like half the people that play Kingdom Hearts for the Gummy ships.
What is
Gummies? I love gummies.
Just someone decking Sora?
In the Mulan world in Kingdom Hearts 2.
Oh, jeez.
Chaos.
Gosh. Oh, this is Final Fantasy. What is it called?
Strangers in Paradise. Final Fantasy Origins.
That was a weird. I don't know what.
The Final Fantasy 1 prequel.
Yeah, what a weird idea. Let's make a story around Final Fantasy 1 and how everything came about. And I'm like, that.
You remember Final Fantasy 1, right?
Oh yeah, I remember it.
This guy right here is Garland.
I know, and it doesn't make any damn sense. I'm like, why would you do that?
It's all part of his plan.
My master plan to join the dark.
I will become
literally, yeah.
I will become a Final Fantasy Darth Vader archetype. Like, why?
Hero of life.
I mean, that game is made by the same people that made Dissidia NT. So.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
It's all of Dissidia and this game. Like the story planning was Nomura. So that explains everything.
I heard Star Wars Final Fantasy. I'm just thinking.
Garland is pretty much just Vader ripoff.
I was gonna say.
Actually, not even Garland. Golbez from 4.
Oh my gosh! I wanted to finish my joke.
Go ahead.
All right. Heroes of Light, I am your mother twice removed.
Yeah. I mean, 2 is literally a ripoff of A New Hope. And Golbez from 4 is Vader. And the final boss of 4 is literally the Emperor.
Yeah, I know. It gets
Zeromus.
All right, so
my.
Steam has user reviews, refunds. Tencent doesn't own 40% of the share of Valve. Okay. Epic Games does not have refunds, does not have user reviews. Tencent owns 40% of Epic. Tencent owns most of everything in gaming anyway, so I don't really care.
Oh my.
A lot, but not most.
Who's this narcissist posting the Thanos gif?
Fortnite is
You're
down
way ahead.
and players are unable to log in. Oh, boo-hoo. Let me press F on the world's smallest keyboard. I have you know I finished Pokemon Mystery Dungeon and I only cried for an hour.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Spends 33 minutes praising the game, gives no reason to why it should have failed. Yeah,
Well, technically,
hello,
30,
I'd like to get my
technically
time back.
31. The last 2 minutes were self-plugging.
yeah.
Hello, I'd like to get my time back, please.
Fine, I'll do it myself.
John 36. Oh, boy. Gummy ship.
Oh my gosh.
All right. Well, that was a different take for Weeb Day or Anime Day.
And that's 0 days without nonsense right there.
Yeah. Well.
Kingdom Hearts. So complicated that when you try to criticize it, you don't understand the criticism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's Carlos Batista for the 5. The video should be called "The Game That Should Have Failed But Didn't." Here's why.
Yeah, that at least would have been less clickbaity.
It's a fanboy gushing about his fandom, and that's fine. It's just you just say it. This is a great game, and here are things I like.
The little fan game that could.
The massive franchise later. Yeah, there's all kinds of things you could have made.
Yeah, writing the game that should have failed, that comes off as someone that just doesn't get Kingdom Hearts and wants to rail against it. But no, he loves the game.
Yeah, or is not understanding why it worked.
I am tempted to make that video on how to do it right.
And how it's like,
Because I played Kingdom Hearts 1. I wasn't too enthusiastic about it. And I'm not exactly a Kingdom Hearts fan. So yeah, well, technically I would be biased in a way. But at the same time, who the hell cares? Because everyone has a bias.
nothing is a spin-off with this series, though.
Yeah, nothing is a spin-off. Even the fan arts.
I was gonna say even a hotel room.
Even though a Love Motel night would be a canon somehow.
Well, it's not even a love motel; it's just a hotel in Japan.
I know. I'm just saying a Love Motel night would somehow be canon.
Well, Nintendo's the one that's cornered the market on those ages ago.
All right. Well, guys, that was fine. It wasn't bad video. It just wasn't on topic. And you know what? I think we get too hung up on these titles because we expect them to be an essay about the title. And instead,
yes, please watch videos before you suggest them.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're not.
I do want to say something real quick. I will give this guy a lot more credit than the last person we reviewed because at least we could hear him.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
It's like the audio on the last video which was RPGs suck or turn-based RPGs are bad or something like that. You could hardly hear him, and I had my ear close against my phone. I was like, that stupid that cup thing where people, the one with the string where they have it against their ear to hear the message on the other end.
Really?
Yeah, I was like that trying to hear the video. I was like, can I just hear it, please?
Well, it's probably one of their first videos where they don't know how to do video editing properly with balancing your levels. That happens a lot to people. That's fine. But yeah, guys, please give us videos that are on the topic they're supposedly about. Even if they're bad, I don't care. So long as we could follow a train of thought, because this was just he could have brought up any topic in a title, and it's just gonna be him. I love Cabernet Sauvignon, and here's all the reasons why. And you're like, I thought you said Cabernet sucked. Like, what are you talking about? So, yeah, I need to sink my teeth into something that actually makes sense. So, or at least follows a train of thought. Because even with Maggie Mae Fish, she's on topic. As crazy as her opinions are, she's,
Who's Maggie Mae Fish?
You don't want to know.
You don't want to know.
You really
I
don't.
kind of want to know.
Wait until Friday.
Anyway, thanks guys. Not bad, but let's try for better, okay? Please.
Yeah.
Sorry if I wasn't too good on this podcast.
This is fine, man.
We got through it, and we're okay. So no complaints here. Thank you. Keep them coming. Keep the voting going, and we'll talk to you guys real soon. Have a great evening.